Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Lessons Learned, the dumbest thing I've ever done with money. My name is Suzanne, and I am the head coach at Grace Financial Coaching. And I am super excited to welcome Hernan Sias today. I've known Hernan for a while now, and we are going to be talking about the dumbest thing he's ever done with money. But first, Hernan, A.K.A. the Business Bro, is the host of the Business Bros podcast, a live interview show hosted daily, which highlights entrepreneurs and their journey through business and life. Hernan's background is in taxes with a degree in accounting, teaching credential in mathematics. Hernan has built multiple business over the last 17 years, including his current venture with Pipeline Insurance. And more recently, due to the massive success of his podcast, Hernan has launched his own marketing agency. His mission is to help businesses grow by getting them more clients. Good morning, man. What's up?
What's up? I'm excited to be here, Suzanne.
I know, long time no speak.
And you are conducting your podcast every single day. You are doing exactly what we teach people to do all the time.
Yes, except I'm doing it weekly, so I'm a little lazy, but
weekly is still really good. It's consistency, right? That's what counts here.
Literally, I was just saying to Hernan, I spoke at a coaching conference this weekend, and my talk was all about marketing, and the bottom line was all about consistency, right? You've got to be in front of people on a consistent basis.
That's it. That is the bottom line. And that's exactly what we do when we're talking about at our particular marketing agency. Like, I'm literally going to teach you a way to create long form pieces of content, AKA a podcast, just like we're on right now, right? And then chopping it up. I mean, it's not like it's something unique or you don't know it exists. The problem is you're not doing it. Right. That is the bottom line, is that you're not doing it. And so we provide that ability for you to do it in the easiest way possible. Whether you want to start a podcast, and I can show you exactly how to do it, so we can use a platform like this, like StreamYard, to simplify the process, or you just want to be the person who's interviewed and we'll meet every week or once a month. We'll sit down, have a conversation. We'll use that to create your content. But that's the simplicity of it. It's getting you from you're not doing it to finally you're doing it.
Right. What is the scariest part for people who have never been interviewed or interviewed somebody else? What is like the biggest hurdle that you see everybody has to get over?
Themselves. Like, honestly, like that's the biggest hurdle is I don't like the way I sound. Like, I can't stand the sound of my own voice, or I don't like the way I look on camera. And so you spend so much time trying to correct your ums and your okays and your filler words, or you spend all this time preparing to get the perfect outfit and put your makeup on the right way, that you never actually do any of the content creation, rather than just getting over it and realizing that however old you are, you've been speaking that way for that many years, and you've looked that way for that many years, and this is how people know you as. So, like, get over it and get more comfortable and improve as you work through the process, rather than, trying to be perfect on day one.
Right. I took a very rudimentary tech. So my biggest thing to get over was, one, I hate my voice. I got over that by paying a virtual assistant to edit the clips that I wanted later on. So for nominal fee, she edits and goes back and cuts the clips, because I hear myself one way right now, but once I rewatch it, I absolutely hate it. So there's one little hurdle I overcame. But the other thing that I had to overcome was the technology thing. So I actually did a very short little class with somebody who specifically taught me how to use StreamYard and how to connect it and how to get all those pieces attached. To me, the technology was the scariest part.
Really? Oh, that's good though. That's good, because it's you still tackled it head on, right? So it really comes down to you are still your roadblock, because the technology itself, at the end of the day, was it really that difficult?
No, I think it's the old cliche of riding a bike, right? We could all get right back on I don't own a bicycle anymore, but I'm sure I could get one back on one and know what I was doing. But you have to do it consistently, and then it becomes automatic. We just had that little technology hiccup because we were going to start early and I had to just click a couple buttons and read what it said on the screen and work through it and go back out and come back in. And here we are, where it's working now.
Yeah, exactly. Once you know and you go through it, it's gonna be fine. I think that's one of the things. My son recently was auditioning for a play at school, and leading up to it, he was terrified. Right? I mean, like he practiced his song. He was gonna sing "Stand by Me," like that was his audition song, and like he's well rehearsed. but it doesn't matter. As you get closer and closer to that thing you fear, you start to feel all these like anxieties, right? You start breathing funny, your face gets a little flustered red, you start feeling that little clammy, sweaty feeling. But physiologically, we're going through the same thing, whether we're excited or scared. It's really what we put in our own heads. So
That's
once
so
he
true. Yeah.
faced that fear, like once he signed in, he said, once he signed in, like it was almost like a release, like, oh, okay, like this is okay. I'm gonna be all right. I'm not gonna die, right? And I think that's kind of a nice lead in into like making dumb mistakes all the time. Is we're going to make mistakes, but we're gonna feel fear, but we still keep going, right? Like that's the
Yeah.
key.
Yeah, before we get to your dumbest thing, one more question. What is the biggest change you see when you help people create their content and then get consistent? What is the biggest change you see in their business?
Honestly, it's their confidence, right? I think for almost every single person that you see that is a successful salesperson, they believe 100% in their product or service. I think that is the kind of the threshold that you need to kind of cross in order to sell more of your product, increase your bottom line. Is you got to believe in that product that you're doing. I'll give you a perfect example for myself. Um, I have a hard time in this real estate market representing buyers than I do representing sellers. Only because in my mind, I'm like, why are you going to pay so much to buy a house? And I understand the other side of it, right? You need a place to live. Over time, the market is going to increase. I understand the benefits of tax benefits and appreciation. But for me, I feel like if you wait, you could probably take advantage price wise, and then with some financial advice, you can offset some of that interest rate, right? Like you can make some moves to get something at a lower price, and then when things come back up, you're on the plus side. So for me,
Yeah.
like ethically, I can't get behind it. Even though I understand for some people that's the plus side. So I have a hard time being a buyer's agent on this market. But a seller's agent, however, this is the ideal time for you. You get all the terms that you're looking for, none of the concessions you want. Like I will stand behind a seller all day long. And that's the thing is, right? It's a belief. There's no wrong side on the purchase. That's just market value is when a buyer and a seller agree on terms on a price, right? That's it. But we implant our own like devices in our head. And I think once we cross, I believe in my product, you're going to sell more. That's what they
Yeah,
get when they
definitely.
when they start
It's,
marketing.
we're recording this in September of 2022, and the jobs report just came out this morning, and it doesn't look good. So all of these lagging indicators about the economy are going to affect the real estate market, right? And that's going to
Hmm.
change. And then the Fed is about to raise interest rates another 0.75%. So all of this stuff is going to continue to push us into a bear market, bring us back to the bull market, whatever they think it's going to do, right? And we're certainly manipulating it by having the Fed increase interest rates. But yeah, totally. Right now is a scary time to be in a situation where you have to buy.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
Definitely.
again. Don't get me wrong, because I believe in the American dream too, right? And if that's the thing that sparked me, and I can be confident behind that, I think I'd be all in on the buyer side. And I know there's a lot of agents that are like that are going to help you out on that side. So I team up with them so they can help you because they're the ones who are driven, are going to show you the best value because they are passionate about what they do, right? But it comes down to like be honest with yourself. And I think as you create content, you start to kind of realize what your messaging is, what you actually believe in, the pattern of your messaging, what your ideals, your pillars start to kind of come out, whether you see them or not. You start to see what people engage with when you're speaking. Like, how do they start to see you? Where is it that you're making those connections with them? Who is the type of person that you seem to be attracting? Because you might be going after a certain type, but there's certain people that are actually attracted to you in your messaging. So who are they? Like a lot of clarity comes when you start posting consistently.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much because really what you are putting out there is a reflection of your morals and your values, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Or
Yeah.
who you want to become, right? Because that's the other aspect. Like I know for me, I use social media a lot for accountability. I got myself in really good shape by using social as my accountability. Like when literally right before I came on the show, I did my morning workout, which is extreme. And like if I shared it with you, you'd be like, what? Like you did that already this morning? but it didn't start off that way. It started as baby steps, and posting on social every day was my accountability that I did it. And now I'm in a position where it's become second nature, and I'm good at that particular process because I took the time to be consistent at it every single day, right? And that's the, again, the clarity and the consistency. It's really, I feel like life is nothing more than pick the habit you want, learn to your daily routine, and then watch the fruit that that habit bears, right? Because you're going to get better at that thing, whatever it is that you're doing on a consistent basis. And you can look at your day as a series of habits and pluck the ones that you are not taking you in the direction you want to go in, and replace them with ones that are. And I know it sounds easier said than done because the work is the actual habit producing activity, but that's really the simplicity of what you want to achieve in life, right?
Oh, absolutely. The habit building is it's life. If you build good habits, right, your health will improve, your financial situation will improve, your client number will improve, right? But it's building that habit. I that is an absolute necessity when it comes to working with my financial coaching clients, because if you are not in the habit of doing the budget, and I'm talking about touching it every day for 5 to 10 minutes, sitting down with your spouse monthly and figuring out what the next month is going to look like. If you don't have that habit in place, and we go and we have our coaching session and you tell me, well, I don't really know what's going on because I haven't done the budget, that is a huge pass through, a huge trickle down event that will prevent you from building wealth later on in life. It's the
Let me,
little tiny habits that are going to turn into the big stuff.
let me ask you a question. Speaking of dumbest things you've ever done with money. No, I'm just kidding. This is not a dumb one. This is not a dumb one. I actually think this is a really good one, but it will stir up some conversation. So for a long time, the way my wife and I did our budget, we had one communal account, and then we kind of gave ourselves a cash allowance, and we gave ourselves, we took out money for groceries. We used like an envelope budgeting system, right? And then recently we switched things up because, I mean, for the number one reason was she wasn't always aware of what was coming in and how much her contribution was to the household. So we switched it up, and we did, she has her own personal account, I have my own personal account, and then we have now just the bills account. So we did, our monthly budget, and we look at what all our expenses are, and we split it in half. And now, like, she gets her paycheck, and then she puts the money in, I put the money in, and we're done, right? And she's starting to see, like, oh man, I have some extra cash, more than I thought I actually did. I do contribute to this household. It's kind of a good thing. What do you think about couples that change budgeting strategies, versus, I mean, I know a lot of times you're trying to get them to come to consensus on a budget, but what about the ones that are on a consensus and then switch things up?
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. A lot of the times, the reason we preach a combined account is so that there is true built-in accountability. Both people can log into that account. Both people can see how money is being spent, and that typically ties back to a communication issue. I, how you guys have it set up now, I would have absolutely no problem with it because you've already illustrated you have no communication issue. So if the money's going to two different pots and then being added into a third pot and then being spent that way, that's great. If the money's going into one pot and then being handed out all the other ways into envelopes, that's fine too. A lot of people think it's about budgeting. It's actually more about, especially with a spouse, it's actually about communication. So what I would say, the only thing that I would make sure you guys are doing is putting aside for the big long-term stuff. Like, do you guys have sinking fund set up? Where's the next are we putting $500 a month away for retirement? Are we putting $500 a month away for vacation? Like, if that stuff's being calculated into there, I think you guys are good.
Mm, I like that. I like that. Cool. Because you're absolutely right. It is the communication issue that's really been like a problem. Anytime there's lack in communication in your relationship, it's going to show up more than just your bank account. Like
Yeah.
you're
Oh
probably
yeah.
having issues along the way. You open up the lines of communication, even having the uncomfortable conversations, whether they're relationship related or financially related. Um, they suck at while you're having them, but then after that, there's so much clarity. Like, there's like a weight lifted off your shoulders. Like, okay, we
Yeah.
went through that, we worked through that, and now we're here. So let's keep going.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, Hernan, I created this show to help people realize that you can do dumb stuff with money and still come out on top. So, what is the dumbest thing you believe you've ever done with money?
All right, so back after the 2008 big bust, my wife and I started getting into flipping properties, and we got into a position where we were able to buy this property in San Diego and completely rehab it, and we did it like all cash, right? 100% all cash. Now, I mean,
Nice.
I know, right off the bat, you're like, wait a minute, that's already a dumb thing. Why didn't you leverage it? Okay, with different problem. Um,
Yeah.
but here's what we were so involved in flipping and getting our cash in and getting our cash out that I didn't think about leveraging. And this was what, to me, one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made. So now I'm thinking back, that house, which was on 49th Street here in San Diego, um, we were all in at about 300 grand, 310,000. We ended up selling it for, and at the time the market was just starting to trickle its way up. But after we did the rehab, I think we sold it for like 415 or something like that. Which at the end of the day, after everything, it sounded pretty good at the time. Um, but fast forward to today, right? Like I could have refinanced that property, pulled the cash out that I got into the deal, and continued to have this asset that would have cash flowed, and I would have leveraged that money to continue going forward. Not to mention that we are now fast forward, 12, 10, 15 years down the road, and this same asset could be worth, 900,000, which means I could have
Yeah.
literally leveraged this thing 2, 3, 4 times and maximize that revenue rather than just kind of going on a whim and following a trend and being stuck in what I saw as the investment opportunity versus kind of having a network of people at the time to be able to do that, right? And this is before podcasting. This is before my large network. This is me like we're figuring it out as we go. Our main source of education at the time was like YouTube videos and like HGTV. Like that was it, right? Like, you can make this thing work. So,
Yeah.
rookie mistakes, obviously, you learn as you go, but, man, like again, a time machine. Could you go back and make a change? Yeah, you could. But at the end of the day, it's like, look, these are the lessons that you make. Yes, you could
Right.
have picked the winning lottery tickets too. Like there's a lot of things you could have done, right? But what did you learn from it? Like how did you
Right.
take this
So
going
let's go
forward?
back. So was this a fully paid off property, or you guys
This
still
was
had a
a
mortgage on it?
no, it was completely free and clear.
Right. It was completely free and clear. So that's really the thing here, is that it was already an appreciating asset for you. I want to go back to when you said you used cash to rehab it, and thinking that might not have been a great idea. That probably was a really good idea, because think about the people who were rehabbing properties in 2006,
Hmm.
did the renovation on credit, and then the market tanked.
Flipped, yeah. Well, that's exactly what I was afraid of, right? I mean,
Right.
that's that exact thought process was why we were doing it and trying to do it all cash, because the risk was like, ouch, I have an unrealized loss if I sell at this point, right? Like
Right.
nothing hurts more than my ego, but like I can still survive this thing. I can rent it out, I can do something, right? And not actually realize that loss. But I wasn't trying to think in terms of loss. I was trying to think in terms of not losing instead of winning long term, right? Like not losing is also a position that closes your mind off to a lot of options versus winning. How do I maximize this particular thought process? But fear
Yeah,
does
and
come into
I
that,
know
come
that
into
you've heard
play.
the term I know that you've heard the term scarcity mindset,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And
Or
that's what that was. But honestly, in 2008, how could and you're getting into you've been watching too much TLC, and now you're getting into your first house flip?
well, it wasn't my first one. I think this is around closer to like 2012 by this point, right?
Okay, got it.
But it wasn't our first one, but it was one of the first we go in all cash, right? And so it's a different
Okay.
feeling, and we're starting to think, okay, market's going cycles. When's the last time? All right, it's been 7 years. Like you start all these different factors that you start thinking in your head start coming into play. And all of that is scarcity mindset. All of that is imposter syndrome. All of that is your greatest fears in your mind. I like to call it, like, since we're almost in October, right? I like to call it the Halloween horror movie syndrome, right? My wife, she doesn't like watching scary movies. And the reason why is because when the music gets intense and you know something's about to happen, and she's like, the actress is like right around the corner. You're like, what the hell are you doing that for, right? What does she do? She covers her eyes, right? And she doesn't look. And then when the scene's over, she opens her eyes. Well, this is what a lot of people, like investors and people who are putting their money in any type of investment, do. They cover their eyes at that moment rather than facing the actual situation that's happening. Like if she didn't cover her eyes and she just saw the corny like kill scene or jump scare that actually happened versus what her mind projected was going to happen, like
Right.
that's the big difference. And we don't face that fear. Instead, we cover our eyes and we let our mind create a fear that's much bigger than the actual thing in front of us. We don't take that action.
Right. No, and that's so true. The that also could even tie back to the communication issue that a lot of couples have when they're talking about their finances. It's so the intensity leading up to the conversation. Hey, we've got to make some changes. We're going to sit down on Friday evening. We're going to stay in that night and we're going to talk about our money. And then that whole week, the other party or the party who wants to sit down is just focusing on this meeting on Friday night, and it's building up and building up and building up and building up, and all that scary music is in the background in your head. And then you get to Friday and you sit down with your spouse and you talk about money, and all of these fears that both of you have come to the table. Oh, I've been worried about that too. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up. Yes, my mother was terrible with money. This is why I'm terrible with money. I need to learn a different way. And so, yes, the build up, the mental ability that we have as human beings to scare ourselves into something or out of something is actually really horrifying.
What do you want? Right? That's the question. What do you want? It'll be a therapy question. What is it that you are looking for? It's the same question that you go to a Tony Robbins convention, right? They're like doing the same thing. What is it that you're looking for? What's this destiny, this goal? And the thing about it, in my opinion, it's always the same scenario. You're looking for the perfect, the utopia, the winner of all winner goals. There's no such thing. Like, pick something and go for it. That's where I have a problem. And I think I struggle with that, which is why imposter syndrome would set in for me, which is why, that feeling of not being worthy or I'm not doing enough, even though I know I'm busting my butt. I think it really comes down to that idea of, holy crap, like my goal isn't good enough. Isn't good enough for who? Like, right? Like when you sit down with your spouse and you ask each other, like, what is it that we want to do? If it's something as simple as, I want to take the kids to Cancun in spring break, right? That's it. That's the goal. Like that. Don't make it more complex than that. I know make my goals more complex than that, and that's where I falter, because then I have no goal. And when you have no goal, no destination, then you have no path going forward. Pick something and get on it.
Totally. And the more clear, I have a coach friend who says that clear is, what does she say? Basically, the more clear you are, the more kind you are. And so the more clear your goal, and especially if you have a business partner or you're sharing a goal with your spouse or you're even in an accountability group, the more clear you are with that goal, the more concise you are with that goal, the more kind you're going to be. If you create a goal and you're like, I want to have this kind of income and I want this percentage to be from X and this percentage to be from Y and blah, blah. Let's just set an income goal. And let's see how you achieve that goal throughout the year, throughout the quarter. I work with a lot of coaches. I coach a lot of coaches. How are we achieving that goal of bringing in X clients every month? How are we achieving that goal of bringing in X dollars every single month? And just be clear and concise, and you are going to be kind to yourself and to the people around you.
And you're going to realize what you want to do and what you don't want to do, because there are plenty of different ways to acquire clients. Like I promise you, you don't have to knock on all the doors. You don't have to pick up all the phones. Like there are different ways to get people to talk to you about their products or services. But podcasting is one of those ways, right? Like this is literally a way that I get to talk to somebody new every single day who's in business, who has problems that might have solutions through the companies that I either own myself or I'm doing marketing for, right? Like literally, how do you talk to more people and get in front of them, tell them what it is you do? That's why marketing has been such an important aspect for me in my life. Like it's changed the way I interact with people. Just in the fact that I interact with people. Like I don't know how to explain that to you. Like you think you're talking to enough people, but you're not until
Yeah.
you start doing something that actually puts you in that position, right? And that's
Right.
podcasting, creating content, literally changing your ability from talking one to one to many. Like that's your gift that you can do. Share what you're already doing, what you're successful at, what you've sucked at, where you made your mistakes, all that and in between. And you'll find people are gonna come to you. They're gonna find your tribe of people will find you. You guys will find each other. There are people that you're gonna connect with, and you might not have millions of followers, but you can have a couple hundred of really cool people that you hang out with, that you are enjoying life with, that are making your life and their life better in many ways. Like there's
Hmm.
so many cool things that can happen if you're willing to put yourself out there.
That's awesome. I love it. All right, let's wrap it up, Hernan. What would you do differently when it comes to that house that you sold back in the day?
If I can go back and do it again, I'd have kept the cash cow. I would never ever get rid of a cash cow like that ever again. If I find myself in a position where that property is free and clear, especially here in San Diego, it will be either nicely leveraged to where that return is much bigger than the ROI than the loan that I'm getting on that property, or
Yeah,
just live off the cash flow, baby. Take that cash flow, reinvest it, and do something else with it. No need to
exactly.
go above your means. Like literally, you're blessed with this kind of increase in cash flow. Let's make the golden babies. Let's go
I
get that
love it. I
ROI.
love it. Laura, good morning. I think Laura wraps up the student will seek the teacher. Ain't that the truth?
Exactly.
Totally.
100%.
Thank you, Laura. Man, Laura's got the best one-liners, man. Well, Hernan, thank you so much for joining me today. It was awesome to see you again. I hope we can connect more frequently. And everybody go check out the Business Bros Pod. Follow them on Facebook, follow them on all social media outlets. My favorite is scrolling through my Facebook feed and seeing Hernan's beautiful face pop up there with his guest of the day and seeing if it's something that I'm interested in. And usually it is. So thanks again for joining me, Hernan, and everybody tune in next week for another episode of Lessons Learned, the dumbest thing I've ever done with money.